In order for us to build stock trading API, we actually had to be a registered, fully licensed broker-dealer in order to actually do that. So MVP was actually pretty big because we firstly had to get the broker-dealer license. It takes probably like 1 year. We had to connect to the market itself. We had to connect with other clearing houses and stuff like that. So the backend has to be complete in terms of the MVP. So it's not really MVP. It's a black and white, it's working or not. I am Yoshi Yokokawa. I'm a CEO co-founder of Alpaca.
This is Code Story, a podcast bringing you interviews with tech visionaries who share in the critical moments of what it takes to change an industry and build and lead a team that has your back. I'm your host, Noah Labhart, and today how Yoshi Yokokawa set his sights on being the de facto API infrastructure for all financial assets. All this and more on Code Story. Born and raised in Japan, Yoshi Yokokawa started his career at Leimen Brothers in the US. In doing so, he was exposed to the fragility of the economies, yet saw how all things were connected and saw potential areas of automation. For example, where things didn't need a human hand, they could be automated by a computer. A marathon runner, triathlete, and yoga teacher, he attempts to understand himself physically, spiritually, and mentally. When he set out on a venture of his own, he originally started building deep neural net prediction models for trading funds and hedge funds. In doing so, he quickly figured out that in order to scale this thing quickly, his solution would need to work with existing brokerage firms and banks. It was at this pain point that he decided to pivot and build Alpaca, the best way for developers to trade US stocks through an API.
What we do at Alpaca, we're basically building API infrastructure for financial assets in general. Of course, current product that we offer is US stock trading API, but we want to basically become the API infrastructure for financial assets in general. How we got started is that we originally started Alpaca as a building deep neural nets solution prediction model for financial firms, trading firms, and hedge funds. When we realized that in order for us to scale faster, to offer this to the small businesses and the individuals, we realized that we had to work with the existing brokerage firms and banks. And then, we took us a lot of time and efforts to actually figure out how to integrate with the existing broker dealers, because there's really no open API documentations available. In order for us to even do something with the API document, we had to go through this several months of the process getting approval. We realized that really the pain point actually is at this interface for developers to handle financial assets. So that's how we, really pivoted our product and start building what we are at Alpaca as the stock trading API.
This episode is sponsored by Vanta. You're a startup founder. Finding product market fit is probably your number one priority. But to land bigger customers, you also need security compliance. And obtaining your SOC 2 or ISO 27001 certification can open those big doors. But they take time and energy pulling you away from building and shipping. And that's where Vanta comes in. Vanta is the all-in-one compliance solution helping startups like yours get audit ready and build a strong security foundation quickly and painlessly. How, you ask? Vanta automates the manual security tasks that slow you down, helping you streamline your audit. And the platform connects you with trusted VCSOs to build your program, auditors to get you through audits quickly, and a marketplace for essentials like pen testing. Join over 8,000 companies, including many Y Combinator and Techstars startups who trust Vanta. Simplify compliance and get $1,000 off at vanta.com/codestory. That's VANTA.com/codestory. It's such a cool product. Tell me about the MVP. How long did it take to build, and what sort of tools did you use to make it happen?
We thought about this a lot when we were building this. So we decided to build this, stock trading API. In order for us to build stock trading API, we actually had to be a registered, fully licensed broker dealer in order to actually do that. So MVP was actually pretty big because we firstly had to get the broker dealer license. It takes probably like 1 year. We had to connect to the market itself. We had to connect with other clearing houses and stuff like that. So the backend has to be complete in terms of the MVP. So it's not really MVP. It's a black and white, it's working or not. In terms of the user-facing product, we really cared about making sure that we don't have any fancy app or any user interface, but really focused only on the developer experience. So making sure that API documentation is good, but there's no mobile app. There's no web interface that looks pretty. That's how we try to kind of minimize our product to launch as an MVP.
That's interesting. So you had to go through a long process to be approved, essentially, to build your product. You said a year long. There's little client interface involved in it, so it's primarily a very robust API to build on top on. So how long has Alpaca been around?
Our product has been around since end of 2018. We started working on this product 1 year before the launch. So it's been almost 3 years now, I guess. Yeah.
So these questions are kind of usually interconnected, so I'll ask them together. What tools did you use to build the MVP, and what decisions and trade-offs did you have to make in the short term when building it? So you mentioned your MVP was essentially the product, right? But in even making that product, how did you go about choosing the right type of tech?
It's really about performance, and there's really no one built ABI-centric broker-dealer. So we really approach this in technology perspective instead of the financial firm perspective. So, we chose Go as the code for us to build our backend. In the hosting environment, we just went for the ones that we had free credits in because we didn't want to spend money, which actually caused some painful moments that we had to go through. But we really didn't care. We just wanted to get the product out, as you were saying. So our trade-off that we always had to make was because we already spent a lot of time and the money to get the backend system and the compliance regulation ready. So we had to be extremely, extremely cheap in everything else. So we just try to do it as reasonable as possible without thinking too much about the huge scalability.
So there were some early trade-offs, but you focused a lot on a performant platform. So from that point, how did you progress the product? How have you matured it from that initial MVP?
After launching the product, we quickly understood we were lacking a couple of features. We started out providing API just to buying and selling stocks, but people who use our product were looking for a little bit more advanced stuff like short selling, margin lending products. So we basically went ahead and add that very, very quickly. So that really created the foundation of what our users are liking about Alpaca.
This episode is sponsored by Kinsta. Between juggling client meetings, managing your website, and keeping up with everyday tasks, who has the time to stress out about website security? Well, with Kinsta, the technical stuff is taken care of, so you can focus on what you do best. Kinsta provides managed hosting for WordPress, offering lightning-fast load times, top-tier security, and unmatched human-only customer support. Whether you're a business owner, web developer, or running a digital agency, Kinsta makes managing your website easy and efficient. Kinsta provides enterprise-grade security, being one of the few hosting providers for WordPress with SOC 2 and other certifications, guaranteeing the highest level of security for your website. Thanks to their unlimited free expert-led migrations, Kinsta ensures a smooth transition for you from other hosting providers. Customers have reported 200% faster load times post-migration to their platform. What I find cool about Kinsta is their fast and reliable customer service and premium features that are included at no extra cost. Ready to experience Kinsta's hosting for yourself? Get your first month free when you sign up at kinsta.com today. That's KINSTA.com. How did you build that roadmap? How did you gather the feedback, prioritize it? How did you lead your team through that?
We really, really did a lot of user interviews. even before launching, we use, of course, Craigslist to collect potential users, people who are interested. We went into Reddit, Stack Overflow, related, API product forums and trying to source as many people that we can talk with. And even after launch, we just use Intercom to do a lot of conversation and then actually book the meeting. I was doing probably 5-6 user interviews a day after launching the product. So that really led us what's important and what's missing in our product for our users to actually like our product.
How did you go about building your team? You look for the people that have the same passion and desire for the vision for the product that you have. How do you go about building your team, and what did you look for in those people that defined them as the winning horses?
So our team is really, our company, I'm a co-founder. So we have another co-founder, Hitoshi, who's doing CTO and CPO. I think the culture really, we can't really build a culture, but we can define what we believe is important for each of the person. And it's a very much difficult process, and it's a challenging process. And I'm honestly still struggling to figure out what to do. But at least what I've learned so far is setting up the right expectation, not only for the actual work, but also kind of values. So we stated there are 3 values that we really care about: consistency, contribution, commitment. I try to explain that every week at our weekly all hands, and try to do one-on-one to each of the person that I work with closely to make sure that we are hitting the values and the same understanding what we think is important. And in order to find the right people, it's still, I think, very, very challenging and difficult, even though we know what we want from each other. I think it's still, for me, it's a try and error and still learning process.
So is it just you and your co-founder right now, or is there more team members?
We have team members in the different places in the United States, as well as different places actually in the Eastern Europe. So we have a pretty remote team. Right now, everyone has to be remote, but we have been building our team that way.
So you're fully distributed. Have you had, before the pandemic that obviously we're in right now, before that, did you have any sort of challenges leading a distributed team, or is that something you were used to already?
It was very challenging. Actually, my experience really comes from a really distributed team first before launching Alpaca. After doing Alpaca, I actually realized the importance of being at the same place. So we tried to build a team in the same place. We actually, even before Corona, try to make sure that everyone comes to the office, and not much of the work from home optionality per se. When I think about it now, it's pretty crazy. But I actually spent a lot of time to figure out what is the balance of putting the team together at the same time, pursuing what we believe is important to run this product and run this company. Because I feel the values and culture also comes from what kind of product that we are handling. And our product happens to be extremely mission critical because we're handling money and the securities, so we cannot mess it up. So we have to be very diligent. So how can we implement the values into each of us has not been very easy.
You talked about building it scalable early on, or not really focusing on scalability. Have you started to introduce that into the product as you've grown? Have you gotten to a point where you're busting at the seams and you have to re-architect? Tell me about how you're approaching scalability.
We actually try to predict how much of the growth it will be and how much of the stack that we should be having in a hosting environment. But it has been pretty crazy, right? Actually this Corona market volatility created so much spikes in our system. We had to be extremely quick to handle and the fix and the upgrade what we have in order to handle all the increased volume. So it's still challenging. And of course, because we're still early stage startup, we cannot afford to prepare and pay all the tech debt right away. So it's really a challenge. We have to focus on the growth. And then of course now it's a growth. It's a little bit different. We have to make sure that our operation is stable. So we actually really changed the mindset over the course of a few weeks because of this Corona pandemic.
So as you step out onto the balcony and look across what you've built, what are you most proud of?
What I feel it's great is that this product is actually used by the people, because when we are doing another business and product, it was always about having big enterprises use our technology. But having the product actually being used by individual, that's really strong emotion to me, because that he or she is actually using it without any politics or logics behind the corporation that you're kind of forced to use it. You're using it because something about this product attracts that individual. So that's I'm very, very feel proud of about what we are building.
So let's flip the script a little bit. Tell me about a mistake you made or you and the team made, and how did you and your team respond to it?
I don't know, I even don't know, what we're doing and putting priority is the right thing, or, is mistakes or not. So how I think about mistake, I really don't think anything as mistakes, I guess. I just think that we just trying to figure out best case scenario one by one and try to adjust ourselves into ever-changing environment surrounding us because we cannot control the environment. So, and I think so far, I just don't want to think anything as a mistake in terms of what we're doing. Of course, before Alpaca, there are so many mistakes that I think about and learned. There are so many of them. It's same thing as reading hard things about hard things. Oh, well, that sucks. But I was I would still experience it. And I realized that, that book was talking about this experience, but I didn't know before I actually experienced it. So that's how I feel about mistakes.
Sure. That makes sense. You always get something out of it.
Yeah.
Especially in early stage startup when you're up to your elbows in issues every day. So what does the future look like for Alpaca, for the product and the team?
So in terms of the product, what we want to do is really API infrastructure for financial assets. And how we are thinking about it is that a lot of assets and money are moving to new platforms. So for example, there's super apps in China like WeChat adding banking product, investing product, Revolut or Square or Robinhood, adding a lot of different type of the financial products. And I think this phenomena will still continue even after this Corona, as that's more natural evolution of how the service should be. Money product should be a part of the lifestyle application and lifestyle environment. So in order for those services to add investment products and the access to the financial markets, they need to rely on some infrastructure. And basically, we want to support all those products and applications. And eventually, basically, what we want to do is we want to provide the access to the financial markets for every single person in the business on the earth by building the API for developers who build applications.
I love that goal, and I love the ambition. So, Yoshi, tell me about who influences the way you work. You're a CEO, a CTO, architect, or even a person outside of your normal business day to day. Name a person you look up to and tell me why.
Well, I definitely look up to my co-founder, Hitoshi. He works crazy, very sharp, and can handle so many things at the same time. That really pushes me to feel that I need to be working harder. So that has been the great motivation that he's been my best friend for a long time. So it's been a great honor to be working with him. And of course, we have a lot of advisors, investors who gives me very sharp advices with a very objective mindset. And that really pushes me to make the right decisions without emotions attached.
So if you could go back to the very beginning, either at the idea stage or when you're first getting started building that MVP or getting approval, what would you do differently, or what would you consider taking a different approach on?
That's a very, very difficult question. But I think I want to move even faster if I knew what was going to be like and the what it needs to be built. So I think I want to even hire more right person, sharper focus, and the execute fast and believe in that this is going to, go work and very, very good. without any hesitation. Speed acceleration would be probably the biggest different thing that I would want to do if I were to be able to go back to the time that we started building this thing.
You're getting on a plane and you're sitting next to a young entrepreneur who's built the next big thing. They're jazzed about it. They can't wait to show it off to the world. They're going to go get funding, or they have funding, and they're just going to go take over with their solution. Having gone down this road a bit, what advice would you give that person?
Well, just go bold and go full on. Don't worry about anything else. Don't worry about failure. Don't worry about any rejection. Just, go full ahead and just believe yourself. Confidence matters to convince anyone, any investors, every customers. So that's what I would say.
That's great advice. So be bold and be confident.
Exactly. Fake it till make it.
Well, Yoshi, thank you for being on Code Story today. Thank you for telling the creation story of Alpaca.
Thank you, Nob.
And this concludes another chapter of Code Story. Code Story is hosted and produced by Noah Labhart. Be sure to subscribe on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or the podcasting app of your choice. Support the show on patreon.com/codestory for just $5 to $10 a month. And when you get a chance, leave us a review. Both things help us out tremendously. And thanks again for listening.
What's the difference between DIY and doing it yourself? It's the difference between a part-time passion and a full-time business. Wix gives you the power to turn your passion into a moneymaker. With a website that fits your unique vision and the business tools you need to succeed. Let your ideas flow with AI that guides you, but keeps you in the driver's seat. Manage your business from one dashboard and keep it growing with built-in marketing features. It's time to turn your daydream into your dream job. Do it yourself. Go to Wix.com.